so if you're thinking about selling your home and purchasing another property and it's a contingent sale, you're going to want to tune into this podcast. We're going to cover the top 5 tips for seller contingency sales, a big thing in our market here in Reno Sparks. Hello, my name is Ken Anks, team leader of the Anks Real Estate team. Today we are joined with Elena Boland from Wholesale Mortgage. How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for coming in. We're talking about a very important topic today. We're talking about something that's coming up a lot. Majority of the sales we're seeing right now, I would say, on our side are contingent.
Right.
And the reason why is people have a lot of equity locked up in a house, need to sell that house to unlock the equity to purchase a new home. So we're going to quickly go over the 5 tips to help you out because contingent sales are not easy. They're not for the faint-hearted, and we just want to make sure that you think about these items before you consider doing that. So.
Right.
All right, so first things is why are you doing a contingent sale? There's a lot of things. I'll cover a few and then ask Elena. Obviously, moving out of state. We have a lot of people moving out of state for various reasons to go see grandchildren, move to a different area that they're from. Downsizing is a big one.
Yes.
We're getting contacted a lot from people that own larger homes that are getting up there in age and want to downsize and enjoy life and not take care of that huge property.
Right.
And then, of course, we have the families out there or people who are looking for something a little bigger. Mm-hmm. Any other goals out there that you think of that?
I just want to point out that contingent means you won't be homeless.
Right. That's
a lot of people think if I have to sell my house before I buy a new one, how am I going to do that? And when you do that, you get
turn
to
that off, right?
Yeah, for the 80th time I've turned it off, I swear. When you put an offer in that's contingent upon sale, you're just communicating to that seller that you're buying from, you've got to sell your house first. And that means you're not going to be in limbo. So that's just the biggest thing to know is that your realtor is handling that for you in negotiation. So you don't have to stress about that. All that is covered up front, and that's why you use that word contingent.
And if you want to, take one of us to lunch or coffee, there's a whole section in the offer and acceptance for the Reno Sparks area that covers what it is. And it's important that you read that and understand it because there's some deadlines that you have to meet. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the seller can terminate your contract and move on to someone else. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have a realtor that understands it and does quite a few of these. So.
Yes.
So we figured out you're going to have your motivation why you're doing it, and then you're going to hop into how to do it. So first things first, if you need to sell to move, you first need to talk to a great lender. Why is that?
Because some people might not be able to get around being a contingent sale. So, for example, some folks can go purchase a new home and not have to sell their old. And that's the first thing you want to figure out with your lender. Do you have the need to be contingent? Because you could be surprised and not need to do that. So that's your first thing. And then the second thing is figure out your budget, of course. Yeah. How much is the payment going to be on my new house? Are my taxes going to change due to the property's age? Beautiful. You have to make sure that fits in your budget you're comfortable with. You have to look at the HOA cost for that new community as well. And just make sure all those things are in line so that you're not shopping for a home that you get into trouble with when you get into contract and see the numbers and you don't like them. You don't want to break your own heart or the seller's. You want to make sure everybody feels comfortable up front.
Or your realtor's heart.
Yes.
So the other thing too is that we're gonna work with Elena or whoever, we're gonna work together. Mm-hmm. We're gonna work up what your house is gonna sell for, we're gonna figure out the proceeds, and then that'll determine how much you're gonna have down and what kind of payment you can afford. So the biggest thing is not to get in over your head right now.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that we don't want anybody to do, particularly in this environment where rates are continuing to go up. So, all right, so once you figure out how much you can afford, what your house is gonna sell for, the next thing that we're recommending that we're seeing great success is do a pre-home inspection. A lot of people are, what is a pre-home inspection? Well, the market isn't quite as hot as it was. Buyers are a little bit more skeptical now, so it's always good to have you hire someone independently as the seller, come in and go through your house and give you an inspection report. Now, what we're recommending is within reason, fix all the little stuff and kind of come up with a game plan on if, for example, we just had one where the microwave didn't work. Are we going to fix that microwave? Obviously we're going to disclose it, or we're going to give a credit. So it just gives any prospective buyer of your house less reason to get out once we're in contract. So, do you see pre-home inspections a lot right now?
Yeah, and if you just think about it on a personal level, you put yourself in that position. You, as a homeowner, will let a lot of things slide because you don't want to deal with it. But that can worry a buyer. If something like the microwave doesn't work, then you start spinning in your mind, is there something wrong with the circuit breakers? Is there something deeper going on? So you don't want to let a small repair deter a buyer. You want to make sure all those things are buttoned up in advance.
And the biggest thing is that you want to do as many things up front. The other thing that we recommend is that you open up an escrow or a pre-title with a title company here locally. And the benefit of that is they run a preliminary title report up front. So what we're trying to do is eliminate as many contingencies up front so that when someone gets into contract in your house, your sale or the purchase of the new home is really smooth. You don't have to worry about someone backing up.
Right.
So,
Another benefit as well to that one is making sure you know how much you really owe on your house. I've seen, unfortunately, more than a normal amount that you would expect. Sellers coming up having second and third liens on their home because you can, for example, get financing to replace a roof, and that's a lien on your home. And nobody knows that the money is owed, and that, of course, takes away from what you would have as proceeds for your down payment. So if your lender's just looking at your credit report saying, okay, you're going to net $100,000. Well, no, you owe $35,000 on this roof still. So unfortunately, it's going to be a lot less. It's something super important to pre-check with the.
That's a beautiful thing too, because we've also seen solar leases. Another big thing that you should know that, but if you did it 5, 10, 15 years ago, you may forget, and you have a 20-year lease.
Right.
So those are things that could reduce the amount of money that you're going to have to go purchase.
Yes.
That's another reason to open that preliminary title report. The other thing is fix those as much as you can on the pre-home inspection. Look at resolve any issues that you have on your preliminary title report. And then also you're going to need to get your home ready to sell. I mean, you'd be surprised on how many people we had listing up at the Mount Rose Highway. I would say we got a half dozen realtors calling saying, hey, I have someone interested in purchasing your house. Our house isn't on the market. It takes us about 30 days to get it ready. What do you think the answer from the seller is on that?
No, thank you.
Yeah, no thank you. Get your house listed.
Right.
So the biggest thing is that once you fix the repairs, then you have to go into getting it cleaned, getting it, carpet stretched, paint if necessary, and get the photos taken. Have it ready.
Right.
Because any seller is going to be hesitant if you don't have any comps in the house, you haven't had a realtor go through and determine the price that you're going to list it for, and have all the photos ready.
Yes.
It has to be show ready.
Yeah.
And because obviously most of the times sellers want you, when you purchase a home, they're going to want to know that either you're in contract or your house can go on the market with so many days.
Right. It's just a matter of action on your part, because if somebody's going to commit to holding their home for you while you get yours sold, they want to see that you are taking the right steps of action to at least get things moving, so they know you're a serious buyer.
Right, because they don't want their house tied up, particularly right now in the hottest time of the market.
Yes.
Because they don't want to be 90 days into it to find out that you can't sell your home.
Right.
Especially when we move into fall, it obviously slows down here. So the next thing is, or she kind of laughed at me, but figure out how not to do a contingency sale.
I mean, it's a good point.
Because contingency sales are rough. You're dealing with a multitude of different realtors, personalities, lenders, and you need a lot of things to line up to make it go smoothly. And I can tell you that most contingency sales don't go smoothly just for various reasons. So what are some options not to do a contingency sale?
If, for example, you're worried about the need for a down payment to move on to a new home, and you qualify, you can look at using a home equity line of credit to pull from the current home that you own and use that as down payment funds for the new one. And that way you've got the money ready before your house sells, right? So of course, is that gonna mean less money from the pot when you sell? Yes, but it's already put into your new home purchase. That's option one. Option two is a bridge loan. Those are a little more difficult because the rates on them are a lot higher because it's a little bit of a gamble for investors. But those are nice because it just like it says, it bridges the gap between the two. The catch with those is that sometimes, depending on the file's total scorecard, you've got to qualify for your old mortgage, your bridge loan mortgage, and the new loan mortgage. So the home equity line is a little easier to deal with in that way. But it's always about just discussing and exploring every option to make sure that you look attractive as a buyer.
So those are 3 from the lending side. From the real estate perspective, and I tell people, if you want to learn to do it right, sometimes there's what's called a reverse contingency. People are like, what is a reverse contingency? It is a person that puts their house on the market and says, hey, buyer, I want to sell my house to you. You have to give me 30 days to find and potentially 60 days to close on a replacement home.
Right.
Now what happens is typically you get 30 days, so you get into contract. Nothing really starts until you find a replacement home that has an accepted offer. And then everything kind of runs parallel. So the inspections are done in your house, but if you've done your homework, the inspections are already done in your house.
Right.
The preliminary tiles are already pulled. So like I said, up front is where you do all your work to make it go smooth in the back end, so you can do a reverse sale. So you actually list your house, get an accepted offer. They give you a certain amount of time to buy a house, 3, 4, whatever's negotiated. And then if you find a house, you get in contract, you continue down the path. Now it's still contingent upon you closing. At some point though, you have to waive that contingency once all the contingencies are removed on their sale. So it's a little bit more complicated, but sellers are a lot more likely to accept your offer if you're on the market or in contract.
Right.
And that's, it's a little fear for a lot of people to experience that, because everyone thinks they're gonna be homeless, but there is language that you can put in there. Talk to your attorney, that we can put in there to make sure that your house isn't sold, but it does put you in a lot better position with any prospective seller.
Yeah, that contract keeps you protected. So that's again about the trust with your realtor at that point.
Yep, and your lender, because all these things have to. So those are our top 5 tips for seller contingencies. If you want more information, comment below, send us comments and direct message. How do they contact you?
WMSReno.com.
And then the last tip right here is make sure that you're working with a lender and a realtor that has several of these under their belt.
Yes.
It is not for someone that's never done one. You don't want to use that. You want to use someone that's done half dozen to a dozen of these, because there are some tips and tricks that someone that is new to the business doesn't have. So like our videos, send this to a friend or a relative if they're somewhere they're stuck and are thinking about wanting to move up or need to downsize or move out of the area. We're always here to help and would love to earn their business. So until next time, you guys take care, and we'll talk to you soon.